Welcome to the Cross Canada Spotlight. I'm Mike Arsenault. Every week we take a look at a handful of the most interesting and entertaining stories produced across the Global News Network. A community in Alberta gets regular visits from a group of deer. It's all thanks to a late neighbor's green thumb. Be prepared for a cuteness overload.
Darrell and Maggie Sawyer have lived in their South Lethbridge house for 7 years. When they moved in, they weren't expecting some four-legged neighbors to make themselves at home in their backyard.
It's cool. It really is to be in the city and have them actually lay down on the grass and feel so comfortable.
The houses on the street were built in 1947 for World War II veterans. Helen, who once lived next door, was one of the original homeowners.
Helen was our neighbor for a few years before she passed away after we moved here, and she forever had a beautiful garden.
So beautiful, it attracted some guests.
The deer would come and raid the garden, and Helen would come out with the broom, waving it back and forth, telling get out of here, you four-legged devils. It was entertaining.
But when Helen passed away a few years ago and the new homeowners got rid of the garden, the deer didn't stop coming.
It's like it's imprinted in them that this is a good place to come and eat. We don't harass them. We'll sneak out and take pictures, but we leave them alone for the most part, and they seem to not mind us.
Now the backyard has turned into a deer daycare of sorts.
They've started dropping their fawns off while they go and raid the local garden. The other morning, sitting here on the deck was a little teeny fawn about the size of our cat, with a bigger head, but its body was about the size of the cat, sleeping in the corner over here.
The Sawyers say most of their neighbors enjoy having a front row seat to the show, but the biggest fan is their cat, Milo.
He comes out and interacts with them. He stalks them, and then when they turn around and look at him, he stands up like he wasn't doing anything.
The Sawyers are thankful for Helen and her consistent gardening for making the deer feel so safe and so well fed.
It's wonderful. It's a great legacy for Helen.
Jessica Robb, Global News.
It is so cool that the deer trust the neighborhood so much that they feel comfortable leaving the fawns on their own while they look for food. All animals are extraordinarily protective of their young, so it really is amazing that the fawns are left to their own devices in the backyards. Hopefully they continue their visits for years to come. Now, during the pandemic, creativity has been at an all-time high. Evidence of this was shown recently at the Run and Gun film competition in BC. Filmmakers were tasked with creating an original film from start to finish in just 2 days. Check it out.
Okay. A 1997 cinematic masterpiece.
It was an artistic explosion. Close to 1,300 people working on 100 different short films over the course of a weekend. A pent-up release of creativity after having no outlet for well over a year.
I'm Michelle.
Can kind of see where people's psyches are at based on the film submissions, and it's like, okay, people have had a year. People had a bit of a time.
All right. Everything from dark and edgy to comedic and visionary.
Who dares disturb my HR-mandated 15-minute breaking time?
There was even a submission from some elementary school students that dealt with bullying.
Kids that are like 8 to 10 years old that directed, shot, did everything for the film, and there's something just very innocent and exciting about that.
I don't want to sound like a superhero, but I saved someone's life today.
This hotel is canceled.
There was only one rule, no mention of COVID-19 or the pandemic at all, which has given this competition a fresh feel, a bit of a rebirth for local filmmakers.
That doesn't sound very nice.
The final screening and awards night is July 10th at the Rio Theatre. It's been hard for judges to narrow it down.
This year for the finals, the top 20 screening is incredibly high, and I think that's just because of the amount of volume and having our screeners pick the top 20 films to play, and it's going to be a great show. I'm so excited.
I'm going to take this lighter and...
Oh!
Jay Durant, Global News.
As someone who works in media, I am in awe at how impressive some of those submissions are because I know how difficult it is to produce, shoot, and edit content. And that was a breakneck pace those creators had to hit. Staying in Western Canada, the extreme heat this past week gave some Alberta businesses a chance to pivot and help customers trying to stay cool.
It wasn't easy staying cool this week. Thankfully, at Sublime Cat and Canine in South Edmonton, there are pools and air conditioning.
Once we announced to our clients that we had it, we just really had a rush of people wanting their pups to stay out of the heat instead of at home.
Owner Ashley Young says the dog daycare saw about 50 extra pups this week.
It's more than we've ever seen probably in the last 2 years. We actually had to hire a couple people really quickly and train them all week, so it's been interesting.
For many without AC and a cool basement, sleeping was likely uncomfortable. That's why the Westin offered a discounted rate for local families to stay here.
We got lots of calls. The phone didn't stop ringing. They wanted to get out of the heat, and even the pool was busy the whole time.
General Manager Jumana Gandour estimates roughly 80 families took advantage of the deal.
The last 2 days have been the busiest in the last 16 months. More than the benefit of business or the financial benefit, I would say, it's been a morale booster.
The scorching heat may have also inspired you to find a cool treat.
Heat wave, ice cream, hanging out, good days.
Kind Ice Cream says it had long lines this week.
All the way out the door and down the side of the building here, through the park little area. One in the door, one out the door. We're going all day.
And as we start to get past these record-breaking temperatures, we can finally go back to enjoying the heat instead of hiding from it. Nicole Stilger, Global News.
It has been a tough go for so many businesses during the pandemic. The ability to pivot and innovate has been crucial to remaining afloat. To Quebec now, and the Montreal Canadiens' first Stanley Cup final appearance since 1993. Habs fandom has predictably swept across the province.
St. Joseph's Oratory, one of Montreal's most iconic places of worship. People from all over come to pass their messages to the man upstairs. But on this day, some are praying for a Habs win.
They're going to be my tots for sure.
This pair came all the way from Toronto to show their support for the Bleu Blanc Rouge.
I drove 600 kilometers all the way from Toronto, Ontario, because this is the team that we support, the right team, the good guys.
Oratory staff say they have not noticed an uptick in Habs-related prayers in recent days, but that could just be because fans are already full of faith.
Oh, he's always been on our side. That's why we're the best, you know?
That's right.
Let's bring home number 25.
I'll just swipe the icing right over.
Montrealers are hoping the Habs can defy the odds to hoist their first cup in almost 3 decades, but perhaps the next best thing is taking a bite out of Lord Stanley's mug.
The design needs to be very precise before you even start.
Cookie artist Josie Plescia runs Les Biscuits Josie in Montreal's West Island, and in recent weeks she's sold over 600 of these carefully crafted Habs cookies.
We had lineups here on Tuesday and Wednesday, and this morning we had quite a nice little flow as well.
Nothing better to bring than a Habs gift to a pool party.
The home and away jerseys are the hardest ones to make, but they're all created with a precision similar to what's needed to beat Tampa Bay's goalie. You won't find the CH on the Stanley Cup cookies, though.
Because I'm a little superstitious and I don't want to jinx it.
With all that hard work, you can understand why she charges $5 to $8 each, but all proceeds from the Habs cookies go to charity.
We figured, you know what, let's donate all the profits to the Montreal Children's.
Like so many Montrealers, Plescia is thrilled the Canadiens have even made it to this point, but she hopes the playoff story has an ending as sweet as red, white, and blue icing. Dan Spector, Global News, Montreal.
Well, with Montreal down 3-0 in the series and Game 4 on Monday night, it's going to take a lot more praying to get the Habs back in the series and get the Stanley Cup back to a Canadian city for the first time in almost 30 years. Staying with sports, I've been producing a monthly golf series for Global called The Drive to 300 Yards. In the latest episode, I shot the round of my life, got an official Golf Canada handicap, and learned all about course management. I spent a lot of my free time in June either on the driving range or on the golf course. I try to consolidate all of my practice and my swing tips into a consistent, repeatable swing. My driver was really showing some signs of improvement, and some of my work did transfer to the course. I'd hit some really good shots, but still sprinkled in quite a few duffs as well. I've never broken 100 on a par 72, 6,000 plus yard course before. But that all changed at Saugeen Golf Club in Port Elgin, Ontario. I had the round of my life, getting 3 pars, a birdie on a par 5, and shooting a 93. I wasn't expecting to be in the low 90s so quickly, so I started wondering about my handicap. I went to Ryan Logan from Golf Canada to learn more.
The handicap is an average of your best 8 scores over your last 20 rounds.
And the type of course you play definitely matters.
We have a team of volunteers that go to every facility across the country and perform a course rating. We calculate all the raw data at each facility. So by every tee deck, we measure kind of every square inch on the facility. You can use that course rating and that handicap, and you can travel to any facility across the world and compete equitably against your friends.
Is there a feature on the app where your development guys on the web team can actually make my handicap look like a 10, even though it's in the low 20s? Is that technology there yet?
We're not really keen on that, Mike. We prefer that, golf is a game of honesty and integrity. So, we want you to go out there. We want you to post your accurate score, measure yourself against your fellow golfers on the golf course, but also track your statistics, so determine how many fairways you hit, how many greens you're hitting per round, how many times you're getting up and down. We've launched a GPS feature as well. So while you're playing the golf course, you can know how far you are away from the center of the green. We have 1,400 facilities that you can track your handicap at across the country.
If I want to play bogey golf and get my handicap into the teens, I have to get to work. Mother Nature has brought us indoors today. We're at Modern Golf. We have the simulator here, Stu. And course management, I think, is something that is missing from my golf toolkit. If I want to break 90, what is course management?
Well, Mike, we're learning to hit it far, but we also have to learn how to play the golf course. If all we were trying to do was just hit it 300 yards on the driving range, we'd be looking at things a little differently, but we want you to be able to have fun when you play too. And a lot of that comes from minimizing mistakes, picking the right clubs, picking the right shots, and going through a bit of a routine so that when you're on the golf course, you're giving yourself your best chance to play well. You've found a pot bunker. So this is where course management really does come into play. We know you can hit it 230 yards, but you can't hit it 230 yards out of a pot bunker. So the smart thing would be, you've got your 4-iron in your hand, we're gonna ditch that, we're gonna take a wedge, and what we're gonna do from here is get it forward. We wanna make sure that you're gonna give yourself the best chance to make 5, not 6, 8, or 10.
Fifth hole now, Stu. It is a short par 4. Now with my brand new driver, typically I'd be like, okay, let's try and hit the driver as far as I possibly can, get it as close to the green as I possibly can. Maybe not the best strategy moving forward.
Well, this is an interesting one. It's a big dog leg to the right. We know that we've got to carry it a certain distance to get it over one side of the hazard. But the problem is we run into some hazard on the other side. So where we know you've got the distance to sort of get it out there, get it close to the green, the course management play might be to hit something like your 4-iron, hit it down there, leave yourself a wedge in, give yourself the best chance to potentially make a par, and might even make a birdie with it as well.
For myself or anyone trying to play bogey golf and break 90, is a good strategy on par 3s, try and be on in 2, par 4s be on in 3, par 5s be on in 4, and kind of use that, and then 2 putts and you're playing bogey golf.
It never hurts. The biggest thing I think that we see is people make mistakes and then they compound those mistakes further.
Mike Arsenault, Global News. I hope I can hit my driver into the 290s and get my scorecard to bogey golf in time for next month's episode. That's it for the Cross Canada Spotlight. Be sure to watch Global News Weekend Saturday and Sunday mornings at 7 a.m. on the Global TV app. For now, stay tuned for more news and weather.